It's not on all employer and all skill set that's eligible for sponsorship. That is why research is very important for anything you are doing when it comes to skilled worker migration. Hi, lovelies. Welcome to my channel. If it's your first time of seeing me, you're welcome. And for my old subscriber, thank you for keeping faith in me. My name is Victor, and I'll be talking about eligibility criteria for a skilled worker. Like you do know, all job has eligibility criteria, but for the skilled worker, there are some specific criteria that has been set out for skilled worker and visa. For the first criteria here, it's the job must be listed among the skill set must be listed among the eligible skill sets that can sponsor workers from overseas. With the shortage occupational list, also, if you are applying for a sponsorship job in any of the occupational lists, that skill set, that job needs to meet the eligibility criteria in all aspects. First of all, it's the payment. For any job that and for any job to be qualify for sponsorship must meet a specific payment requirement for the employee. A job that it's listed under the shortage occupational list will pay an employee 80% lesser than the going rate for a normal skill sponsorship job. That doesn't mean any sponsorship job pay lesser. I'm telling you, the reason for this is this will give employer the leverage, some of the financial burden will be taken off them to be able to recruit from overseas. Okay, so for an employer to employ a skilled worker from overseas, should be able to pay the employer minimum of 20,480 in health and care sector, or the going with a rate of £10, £10 and 10 pence per hour. Okay, whichever that comes first, the employer can decide to pay £10, £10, 10 pence per hour, or he can decide to pay 20,480 per annum. So whichever of these two options the employer want to adopt, that's good. Then the job you are applying for must fall under either the shortage occupational list or fall under the skill set that is eligible for sponsorship. Okay, one other thing you also need to employee needs to put into cognizance is once you're being sponsored by an employer, it's a must that you must work for that employer. It's not something that, oh, once you've been sponsored, when you get to the United Kingdom, you can decide to work for the employer or work elsewhere. You are bound to that employer. You must work for that employer for you to continue living in the United Kingdom, and for your sponsorship to still be valid, because there are different ways they track it. You must work for the employer. You are bound to that employer. Though for those in the healthcare sector, you can as well do other additional shifts. Okay, for instance, if you are contracted to 40 hours per week and you felt you have other time after doing your 40 hours per week with that employer, you find that you have other time you can still use to work. Yes, you can still work you can still work elsewhere, but also you must only work in that same sector. If you're in health and care sector and as a sponsored employee, you can work in other health sector for an additional hours. But you cannot work in a different sector. For instance, you cannot go into a finance sector, tech sector, or hospitality sector to work. Okay, you're only eligible to work in any other employment within that sector. Okay, you cannot go outside that sector to do additional shifts after completing your contractual hour for the week or for the month. Depends on how the terms of contract goes. So this is one thing I need to bring to my audience. Once you are sponsored by you are sponsored by an employer, you are bound to work with that employer. Okay, and if for any reason you want to do any other job, you must only do it within that same health and care sector. You cannot go to a different sector to do that same to do extra shift. So this is very important. Otherwise, it can render your visa invalid and you might be deported or run into trouble. So, but the good news is, if for instance an employer sponsor you and you're working with the employer, you find that you don't like the job or you don't, for any reason, you can still look for a different sponsor. If you're able to get a different sponsor, you can leave the same employer that sponsor you for the new sponsor. Yeah, you are not bound to like, oh, you must work here even when you are not satisfied, you're not happy with what you are doing, you cannot leave. Yeah, you can leave, but of course, since you don't want to go back to your country, you can decide to look for a different sponsor. Once you're able to secure a different sponsor and is willing to sponsor you, you can leave the sponsor that brought you here and go to the new sponsor for your new job. So that is the flexibility of the sponsorship. Just I should bring this out to my audience to educate them so that they should be able to know how the sponsorship and the eligibility criteria work, so that in case an employer is trying to shortchange them or is trying to take advantage of them, yeah, they can. Some of these tips can be able to guide you so that you'll be able to know your boundary, guide you in the right direction. Thank you very much. If this video is impactful to you, please subscribe to my page and like and share to your contacts. You never can tell, this might just be some of the information they need to be able to get their migration journey right and settle in the United Kingdom. Thank you very much. See you in my next video. Bye.